On one side, there is the will of the international community, and on the other side, the whims of an Israeli prime minister driven by a single goal: his own political survival, at the expense of the survival of millions of Palestinians.
The Middle East is suffering from a cancer. Cancer, Mr. President, is not treated with aspirin.
These circumstances are impossible by design. They are not the result of a natural disaster or a regrettable consequence of the war, but rather a premeditated effort to inflict maximum pain on the Palestinian population by combining three factors. One, the most savage and indiscriminate bombing campaign in the post-World War II era. Two, massive destruction and cruel siege depriving the population of the essentials for its survival, leading to the spread of famine, dehydration, disease, destitution, and despair. Three, forcible displacement at a scale and speed not witnessed in modern history, with virtually the entire Palestinian population in the Gaza Strip, 70% of whom are refugees from the 1948 Nakba, displaced often multiple times in desperate search of safety anywhere, yet faced with death and devastation everywhere. No home, hospital, school, mosque, church, or UNRWA shelter is safe from Israel's bombardment. 2,000-ton bombs dropped with no care whatsoever for civilian lives, more than 25,000 of whom have been killed, including over 11,000 children, more than 63,000 injured, thousands permanently maimed and disabled, and more than 7,000 buried under the rubble. Dozens more will be killed in the hours that this council meets, and thousands more as the council continues being prevented from calling for an immediate ceasefire. This is an assault. This is an assault of atrocities, atrocities that shock and shame the human conscience. In making this determination, the faith of the perpetrators is irrelevant. The faith of the victims is irrelevant. What matters only are the countless innocent lives destroyed and the valiant shattering of the laws enacted post-World War II to preserve humanity. Mr. President, on one side, there is the will of the international community, and on the other side, the whims of an Israeli prime minister driven by a single goal: his own political survival, at the expense of the survival of millions of Palestinians under Israel's illegal occupation and peace and security for all. There is a dividing line between those who want peace and those who are determined to prevent it. The latter believe there is a people too many in our region, while the former believe there is an independent state too long denied its rightful place among the community of nations and its people denied their inalienable right to self-determination. For the leaders at the helm in Israel, the Palestinian people are a people too many. They deny their existence, their rights, their humanity, whether in Gaza, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, or the Palestinian refugees or the Palestinian prisoners. They do not see our people as an empirical and political reality to coexist with, but as a demographic threat to get rid of through death, displacement, or subjugation. These are the choices they offer us: genocide, ethnic cleansing, or apartheid. I know some here are uncomfortable with these words, but they are the reality that we live under. And trust me, you should be much more concerned with the existence of that reality than the words used to describe it. Mr. President, there are only two paths ahead. One that starts with Palestinian freedom and leads to shared peace and security in our region, or one that continues denying this freedom and dooms our region to further bloodshed and endless conflict. The Arab world has been unequivocal in choosing the first path, the one that enjoys support by the international community as a whole. Meanwhile, Netanyahu boasts publicly and repeatedly that he played a key role in preventing the independence of the Palestinian state and peace in our region, and pledges to continue doing so. Israel should no longer entertain the illusion that there is somehow a third path whereby it can choose continued occupation and colonialism and apartheid and somehow still achieve regional peace and security. This is not a viable path, nor a legitimate path. The international consensus on two states in this land must be upheld in word and deed. There can be no more pretext for endless delay and obstruction. The disregard for Palestinian life, for international law, for the regional and international will to bring about just and lasting peace should no longer be tolerated. We are running out of time. There are two choices: spreading fire or a ceasefire. The alternative to freedom, justice, and peace is what is happening now. We must make sure it stops now, and we must make sure it never happens again.
Today, you have a historic opportunity to shift the focus of this Council to the real and grave security threats. The Middle East is suffering from a cancer, and up until today, the Security Council has only ever discussed providing aspirin. Cancer, Mr. President, is not treated with aspirin. The time has come for this Council to address and eliminate the root of this cancer, and not only its side effects. Distinguished Council members and colleagues, we live in a backwards world. 18 years ago, Israel fully withdrew from Gaza in hopes to build trust with the Palestinians and chart a path towards a joint future. Instead, the Palestinians voted in the Hamas terror organization, and since then, under the UN's nose and its agencies, Hamas has exploited international aid and turned Gaza into the war machine that it is. Hamas dug hundreds of miles of terror tunnels and manufactured tens of thousands of rockets. Hamas did not hide its genocidal goals of annihilating Israel. The world knew this, the UN knew this. On October 7th, Hamas's agenda of Jewish genocide became a reality. My people were deliberately butchered. 1,200 murdered in a single day. 240 children, men, women, and the elderly taken hostage. This act of sheer evil was proportionally 20 times bigger than 9/11, 20 times. And Hamas leadership have publicly sworn to commit such massacre again and again and again until Israel is destroyed. Yet, shockingly, many here on the Security Council are advocating for a permanent ceasefire, while giving no thought to the implications. What do you think will happen if there is a ceasefire? I will tell you what will happen. Hamas will remain in power, they will regroup and rearm, and soon Israelis will face another attempted Holocaust. Is this the outcome you seek for all of us? That once again Israel will be forced to carry out another defensive operation in Gaza? Do you truly expect us to leave our hostages in Hamas terror tunnels? As long as Hamas remains in power, a very dark future is inevitable for all of us. How can you call for a ceasefire and mention a solution to the conflict at the same time? This is a complete oxymoron. You cannot have both. It's impossible. Hamas seeks to annihilate Israel, and if you support a position that will leave Hamas in power, you cannot pretend to wish for a solution to the conflict. The past 18 years have proven this. But dear friends, there is a formula that can end the bloodshed, and if the Council stands united behind it, then it will materialize. Should Hamas turn in those responsible for October 7th, and should Hamas release all the hostages, this war would be over immediately. This is not a war that Israel chose, but we will defend our future just as each of you would defend the future of your country. Colleagues, today's meeting demonstrates the pinnacle of the UN's absurdity. Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad are vile terrorists, but these forces of terror are a mere symptom of the true security threat in the region and beyond. There is a regime responsible for sponsoring 90% of Hamas's terror budget, as well as arming them and training them. This is the same regime that supplies Hezbollah with precision missiles and provides the Houthis with ballistic missiles. And all this is carried out in order to wreak havoc and instability in the Middle East. And soon, these acts of terror will be carried out under a nuclear umbrella. Yet, the Council basically ignores this enormous threat, the threat that is the Ayatollah regime of Iran. How absurd is it that the foreign minister of the #1 state sponsor of terrorism that aspires to destabilize the Middle East is here today to address the Council? Can you imagine Hitler's foreign minister participating in a serious discussion on how to defend the Jews during the Holocaust? This is an upside-down world. The representative of a regime that publicly calls for the annihilation of the State of Israel publicly is advising on how to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a truly upside-down world.